Welcome back to another episode of Cody Builds. On tonight's episode, we're going to be working on the bottom side of the truck bed, and I've got a special visitor tonight. I've got my buddy Jeff. You guys might remember him from the Charger episode where we took the engine out of his Charger, tried to figure out what exactly went wrong with it. If you didn't see that video, you should go back and check it out because we made a pretty cool discovery. Not cool for him, but a pretty cool discovery about that engine. So Jeff's going to give me a hand tonight. We're going to get cooking on this bed. We're going to get it up on its lid here. Take a look at the bottom side. Probably do some grinding, cleaning up, and get it primed and painted tonight. And that'll be it for this bed. And then I'll be able to move on to the cab. So stick around and watch us get this work knocked out. So I think the plan here is we're going to get this back half strapped up. Okay. I have no idea if this is going to work, so we'll give it a shot.
Looks good on paper.
We'll strap this back up. I'll have you lift the bed up, and then I'll lift the other half, and then we'll slide the dolly out. All right, let's see what happens here. No idea how this is going to go. Might need a heavier strap. Okay, I got it. Okay. The challenge is I got to get high enough that...
Yeah, you don't want that dolly shooting back at you. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's high enough. Or if I lift the front, I can have you roll out the... Let's see how heavy this is. Oh, it's not bad at all. Can you get it out of there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Now, if you want to push that towards me.
Okay, I'll let you guide it.
Yep. And I'm going to set the bottom down here. If it'll set down.
Okay.
Okay. And what I'm thinking is we should be able to hopefully stand this up.
Do you want to release the...
Yeah, let's see.
We'll just do it this way. Okay. All right.
Hopefully we got enough clearance.
Yeah, I was going to say...
Good thing I took 4 inches out, not 3. Okay, perfect.
Huzzah!
Perfect. All right. Hey, my welds don't even look that bad from the bottom side.
I was going to say, yeah. That part's done.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do here, I got some dust masks.
Okay.
I got a couple grinders and wire wheels. And we're just going to knock the loose stuff off. We don't have to go crazy. We're just going to knock the loose stuff off. We're going to hit it with like a rust reforming paint. Mm-hmm. And then we'll come back with a semi-gloss black after that's done. So we don't have, like I said, we don't have to go too crazy. Obviously this, you don't have to, any of the new stuff you don't have to try and grind down.
Okay.
I'm more worried about this underside here, and then whatever easily accessible loose stuff on the side you can get to.
Okay.
So we don't have to go too nuts.
Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Well, I won't show you a mirror then.
What's that?
I won't show you a mirror then. I owe you big time.
Oh, God, not at all. I'm glad I was doing those rims. I had plenty of practice for this.
Okay, that's you know, the stuff was pretty loose, so it came off pretty easy, which is good. But I just want to say, you need friends as good as Jeff.
Hey, I'm on the set of Cody Build. It doesn't get any better than this.
I told him it was going to be a dirty job, but I don't think I really told him how dirty it was going to be. So you need a friend who on a Wednesday night will come help you grind on an ancient old truck bed that's willing to get dirty with you. So
hey, I'm happy to be a part of this.
So the next thing we're going to do here, we're going to get ourselves cleaned up, and then we'll get the bottom side of this wiped down with some paint thinner just to take the loose stuff, the rest of the loose stuff off, and then we're gonna hit it with primer and paint.
Holy
Stuff
cow.
that gets packed in there.
Uh-huh. Good golly. So, how'd you learn all this? You self-taught?
So the welding is self-taught for sure. I'm fortunate enough that, you know, growing up, my dad had a ton of tools and a shop, and he had a little welder. And when I was in high school, actually, I had a buddy who was in a demolition derby, and he told me, so we were 16, and he told me he had a car. It was a Mercury Lynx.
I remember those.
If you remember, it was basically
I do.
an Escort.
Right.
That he couldn't get running. He said, if I could get it running, I could have the car and I could derby it. So we went to the junkyard. I think I ended up having to put a timing set on it, a timing belt, a couple other odds and ends, got it running, and I derbied for the first time. And in doing that, started to learn how to weld. And I got hooked on demolition derby, like right away. Loved it. It was a thrill. It was an adrenaline rush. And the nice part about that is it's all junk. You know, there's no consequences to putting a bad weld down or anything. So yeah, hours and hours and hours of welding on demo derby cars. The mechanical stuff was more, I mean, I've just always been naturally curious about the stuff. So again, my dad, when I was very young, my dad let me have full access to his tools, which he probably regrets because I lost my fair share of tools in his shop. And it was, you know, start off as bikes, and then it was mini bikes, and then go-karts and dirt bikes and four-wheelers, and then eventually trucks and cars. And always just loved taking stuff apart and putting it back together. So self-taught. Everything is self-taught. And YouTube. Anything I don't know how to do, I find on YouTube.
Okay, that's awesome. What do you think your grandpa would have to say about what you're doing here?
Man, I think about that a lot. One of the connections I feel I have to my grandpa passed when I was 8 years old. And obviously I've talked a little bit about it on this channel, that this truck is one of my connections to him. And it's just a lot of memories of riding in the truck with him and all that. But my grandpa at his core was a craftsman. He was a contractor. He built houses. When he was retired, he took up woodworking and made crafts with my grandma that they would go to craft fairs and sell. And so I remember kind of going to those craft fairs and with them and sitting around while they were selling wooden geese and all kinds of stuff. But so I do think about him a lot, and I'd like to think he'd be impressed with the work that I'm doing and the resourcefulness and taking something that was kind of junk and left for dead and reviving it, because he was extremely resourceful. To this day, my dad's woodshed is packed to the brim full of old siding, old windows, things that when my grandpa would go do a remodeling job, he'd be like, these windows are perfectly fine. Why would somebody replace them? And he'd take them home and throw them up in the rafters of the woodshed. So he was extremely resourceful. I feel, at least I hope, that, you know, he would think about what I'm doing and how I'm saving this truck and be proud of that. So
I'm sure he would. What advice do you have for somebody who hasn't done this but is watching you and thinking, wow, maybe I could do that, I want to do that? What advice would you have?
Yeah, so I think number one is don't be afraid to fail. Like I said, I'm self-taught on all this. I'm not an expert by any means, and I don't want anyone to get the impression that I am when I'm doing this stuff. I'm a regular guy. I'm not a mechanic.
You've been very honest with us
I'm not
about
a
that.
fabricator. If you are willing to put the effort in, do your absolute, work on something and give it your best effort. That's all it takes, like, honestly. Welding sheet metal, welding that stuff, it's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of practice to get it to a level that you're happy with, but you have to go through the pains of failing to know how to do it the right way. You're not just gonna pick up a welder and just magically lay down the best welds. Like, my welds aren't very pretty, but if you don't go through that struggle and the learning process, you're never gonna get there. And I think a lot of people get intimidated by that. And I don't think there's a reason to be intimidated. Like, especially if you're working on an old vehicle like this. Like, if this truck was pristine, I'd feel way worse about cutting it up. But because it's in the shape it's in, like, we can't make it worse. Like, no matter what I do, I can't make it worse. And anything that I do can, if I screw it up, can be fixed. So I like that. I like to have the attitude of like, we can't make it worse. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to just get out there and do it. Like, for me, I think most of my excuses, like when I have an excuse to not do something, is, oh, I don't have the right tools, or oh, I don't have the skill set. You don't need fancy tools to do this kind of work. Like the welder we're using is a Harbor Freight welder. There's nothing fancy about what we're doing, but you just have to have the willingness to get over that, like being afraid of not being an expert. Like you're not gonna be. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna screw up. And that's okay, because every time you screw up, as long as you internalize it and learn from it, you're making progress and you're getting better. And every time you do something, if you do it a little bit better and a little bit better, the next thing you know, a couple projects down the line, you're pretty darn good at something. So that's kind of like the advice I'd like to give, because it can be intimidating. Cars can be intimidating for sure. So the other thing I like to say, it's just nuts and bolts. If you have the time and the patience, and if you're afraid of, you take something apart, you're not gonna know how to put it back together. We got cameras in our pockets now. You get your cell phone out, take pictures as you're taking it apart. Resources are out there, YouTube's out there. There's so much you can learn, there's so much knowledge at your fingertips now that I don't think, not knowing how to do something is not really an excuse anymore, because you can learn. And as long as you're willing to fail, then what is there to really be scared of? So.
Sound advice. I agree. And if you want to do it, do it.
Yeah, do it. Absolutely.
Do it.
I have so much fun doing this, even when I'm scared that I'm going to screw something up. It's so rewarding when it's done.
Yeah.
Like,
desire's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then think about how you're going to feel if you don't do it.
Right.
It's like, I wanted to do that and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or you're like me, where I put off doing this kind of stuff because, like, oh, I don't have the space, or I don't have the time, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. And here I am regretting that I didn't do this project 10 years ago. Like, I'm super happy I'm here and I'm doing it now. But dang, I wish I would have had 10 more years with this truck. I wish I would have had more time putting it together, building it. Like, when I say at the end of my videos, like, your projects aren't going to work on themselves, like, and I know that sounds like a lot of advice from other really popular YouTubers as well, and it's because it is, like, I don't want to say I'm stealing their catchphrases, but that resonates with me, of like, your project's not going to build itself. Like, you have to get out there, you have to put the time and effort in, and if you do, you'll be rewarded. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be pretty. As long as you like it and you're having fun doing it, man, I love it. I love having friends, you out here helping me. It's awesome. I love it. So for me, it's just as much about the time spent building it as it is about the end product. Like, I enjoy the work, the hard work, the labor. I enjoy spending time with friends doing this, my family. And then at the end, I get this really cool thing, right? Like, I'm going to have this cool truck that I can drive around. So that's one of the things I should have said. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I feel like that's an important point too. People want, you want something to be perfect or beautiful or a concourse restoration, but if you don't have the skills, that's, not reasonable. There's nothing wrong with, building something and taking pride in what you're doing, even if it's not up to somebody else's standard, as long as you're happy with it.
I gotta admit, that's a bit of a hang up of mine, is I really strive for perfection.
Yeah.
Which is why I could never do this for a career.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in the trades with my dad. He was an electrician. And everything I do at home, I spend way more time on it than it probably requires.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I'm very much the same way. I've talked about it a little bit in, I think, the last video, where I was having trouble lining some panels up and stuff. And at some point I had to just say, okay, this is good enough. Like, it's way better than what it was before, and I just have to let that go a little bit, because if I was trying to do this truck to a higher level, then I'd be way more obsessed. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be anywhere near this far in the project.
Yeah.
Because I'd be letting the little details hang me up. But ultimately, I think what I had to decide on this project was, this truck's never going to be like a concourse restoration. It's not. That's not what this is. So let's be realistic about it, and let's not get too bogged down trying to make things perfect that'll never be perfect. So, but yeah, I mean, I have that same issue. I like to go overboard. My wife knows this about me.
So does mine.
And I get it from my father. He also likes to go overboard in builds. We like to over improve things. I like to think that so far to this point, I'm being pretty restrained and staying fairly focused. Now, when we get to things like the engine bay and where there's more details involved, I know I'm going to get hung up on that stuff because I have a look in mind with what I want, and I'm not going to. There's certain things I won't compromise on, and that'll be one of them. So
Fair enough.
yeah. All right, so
what exactly are we gonna?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
everything or
yeah, so basically anything inside of the fenders. Don't worry about the fender lips or anything like that.
Okay.
Basically everything inside of here and down is what
Okay.
we're going for. So, and what we're using is just Rust-Oleum rust reformer paint as a primer, essentially. That's gonna kill hopefully most of the rust under the bed here, and then we're gonna come back and hit it with black semi-gloss. So. And this doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going for coverage and trying to kill off some of the rust and hopefully make this a little better. So you got your charger project.
Yes.
What's next for your charger project? What are you thinking you want to tackle next?
Well, actually, I want to do the sunroof.
Okay.
So I got the whole thing apart. I got this pan that the sunroof itself goes into. It's a manual crank. So I got it all stripped apart. The pan, I've actually got, it's primed, so ready to paint it. But I kind of want to put that all back together and just see if I can get it working.
Okay.
Apparently it's a challenge to get the parts, but I found through some research and some individuals online who share that the parts from a 73, 74 VW that had a sunroof, it's the same parts.
Like the bus, a VW bus? Or?
Yeah, the bus, yeah,
Okay,
specifically. And actually, when I was taking all the parts apart and cleaning them up, there's one part, there's these two basically knobs on either side that help you adjust the pitch of the sunroof.
Yeah.
One of them said made in Germany.
Huh.
So
Well, that's cool.
I'm very optimistic because finding the parts, from kind of a charger supplier, that's not working.
It's like impossible.
But VW, all kinds of parts.
Yeah.
All kinds of suppliers.
I would imagine there's so many enthusiasts for the VW buses that those guys are, and the plus on that is those guys are really into restoration. So
yeah. So that's the immediate thing that I'd like to do next. Still want to clean up the transmission, strip the engine like you did, see what I can salvage there, and then in no particular order work on the engine compartment. But I'd really like to get the rear end out so that we can
start doing
all the body work that we need to do.
So if you haven't seen that episode, you should go back and check it out. We pulled the engine out of Jeff's Charger, but we also talked about the project as a whole, and it is a project. It's got a collision right in the pillar, the door pillar, and Jeff has all of the parts necessary to fix it, which is incredible. But we're gonna have to make a makeshift frame jig for us to kind of jig up the body, because those are unibody cars, before we start cutting things out of it. So we are going to do that someday. I'm actually excited about that because I've not worked on a ton of Mopars, so I think that's going to be cool, doing the unibody thing.
Well, yeah, I've got to get that rear axle out for us to do that and figure out how to support it and everything, but I don't know, I'm excited. It's like we said in the video, that's my dream car. That's the car that made me fall in love with cars.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Doesn't get any better than that.
When we talked earlier this week and you said you want to come give me a hand, or you were willing to come give me a hand, I started thinking, and I know I think I said this in the video where we were at your Charger, that you were my college professor. Did you ever envision that one of your Chem 141 students you'd be out in the garage with them helping them restore a truck?
I can't say that crossed my mind, but it is literally a dream come true. One of the reasons that I became a professor is I had, in high school and college, I had some really wonderful professors who were friends and mentors to me when I needed it most. And I wanted to pay that forward.
Oh, you certainly are. I remember distinctly us talking about, when you found out that I was into cars, us talking about cars. I think at the time you had a Toronado, maybe?
Yeah, 66 Toronado.
Yeah.
That's right. And the common story, regret selling it. Yeah, I've had...
That was a little bit of a project, right? It wasn't quite the level of your Charger.
No, not even close. But yeah, it ran. It took me a couple of months just to get the vacuum headlights to work.
Oh, yeah.
But that was rewarding. When I finally got those things to go up, I loved it.
That's something you never see anymore.
Had a 66 Toronado in my lifetime. 66 Toronado, a 66 GTO, a 67 GTO, a 72 Chevelle convertible. I had a 74 Charger at one point. And it was interesting. I went to, I can't remember where it was, but one of these self-help programs, webinars or something, and the moderator said, "Hey, what's 4 words of advice that you would give to your younger self?" And mine was, "Don't sell your cars."
I know a lot of guys who live by those words, or wish they had lived by those words. I don't have any that I regret selling yet. But you know what's funny? So I like cars. I've always liked cars, but I've always liked kind of weirder things. We talked about this. I like the bigger, older 70s cars.
Yeah.
I started going back through like my history of cars that I've owned, and it's almost all 4x4s. I've had a ton of 4x4 trucks and SUVs, and I had to ask myself, like, am I a truck guy? I might be just a truck guy.
No, you've had some pretty cool cars too along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't discriminate, but it seems like I've gravitated towards trucks most of my life. In high school, I had a 80, I think it was an 89 Suburban, 4x4.
Jeez.
It had a 3-inch lift on it and 33-inch tires. It was the classic Chevy, like, two-tone. The white stripe down the middle, red, white, red.
Right.
And that thing was like nearly mint. That would be one vehicle I wish I had never gotten rid of, I guess, because it was in such good shape. I don't want to presume that you've watched all the episodes, but do you have
have.
Do you have a favorite episode so far?
I like the first one.
Okay.
Just, the introduction of the project, what you had in mind, just being there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Was, I don't know, I was just like, can't wait to see where this goes, kind of thing. And I love how you don't edit yourself. When your dad and you got conked on the head with the door frame, and you left it in, I was like, okay, this is real life. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to me is that the videos seem like real. Like, I do edit a lot of things, but I try not to edit out mistakes or, the funny real life things that happen. You know what's funny? I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day. I really appreciate the support of my family, and he's really, my brother-in-law Todd, I'm going to mention him by name because he watches all the videos. And he's expressed to me how much he enjoys them. And I know, part of that is he's my brother-in-law, so he's just supporting me. But I think he genuinely enjoys the videos. And he pointed out to me, because it's funny, I asked him the same question. He said that was his favorite episode. And he said the thing he enjoyed the most was when we got hit in the back of the head with the door frame. And then he reminded me that he said, hey, didn't you and your dad and your brother used to watch the Three Stooges all the time? And I said, actually, it was my grandpa. My grandpa and my brother and I would watch the Three Stooges. And he said, well, I think that was him showing his sense of humor in that moment. And I enjoyed that. I really like that thought that, that kind of Three Stooges-esque comedic timing of getting hit in the back of the head with the door frame was my grandpa popping in to say hi.
it's great that you get so much support from your family and everything to do this.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I know we were talking earlier, like, my wife is awesome. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a more supportive wife, and I super appreciate that because I know that's not always the case. And I try to pay that back by not going overboard and being supportive at home too, and supporting her in the things that she enjoys.
I get the same thing. My wife, Melissa, she had every right when I brought that charger home to say, "Are you out of your mind?" But she's been completely supportive of it.
That's awesome. Because I might have told you you were out of your mind too.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, but again, you know, it's the process too.
Yep.
You know, if I never get it to where I want it to be,
well, one thing's darn sure, you're gonna learn a ton.
that's exactly it. You know, I just love working on the cars. It's not whether I get it running or not, because God knows there's plenty of times I worked on a car and it took me forever to get something figured out, but I learned so much along the way.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for experience.
No, absolutely not.
That's how you get good at something. Or at least better.
Persistence.
Holy cow, it's amazing what a coat of paint will do.
Right? The Craigslist rebuild, as Derek says.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. What made you not want to do this for a living?
I did.
No kidding. Okay.
And I don't want to throw shade at my parents. When I was 15, I think, 14 or 15, I distinctly remember I went to my mom and dad and I said, I want to be a mechanic. And they laughed at me. And, you know, this is going to sound bad for my parents, but I understand where they were coming from.
Yeah.
My dad worked extremely hard. He's a contractor. He worked extremely hard to get everything he had. And I learned a lot of that hard work and stuff from him. And I think he wanted an easier life for me, and so did my mom. My mom was the same way. She raised my sisters by herself for a very long time until my dad came along. Single mom, and I think same thing. She kind of knew the struggle of a quote-unquote blue-collar job. And so they both wanted me to go to college, and they both wanted me to get an education, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, from a very young age, I kind of knew I enjoyed working on things and wanted to be a mechanic. And I distinctly remember, it's kind of funny because, you know, you're a kid, you don't know what you don't know. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I was having an argument with them. And they said, you know, how are you going to make a living being a mechanic? And I said, Mom, they make like $20 an hour. And I thought that was, you know, at the time, when I was 14 or 15, I thought that was big money. And they laughed at me and they said, oh, you don't even understand. And I said, well, I probably don't. But so there was another point in my life. So that was early. I kind of knew that. So I went to school, studied chemistry, obviously. And I don't regret that at all. But there was another time in my life where I was traveling for work. I think you knew that. I was traveling the Midwest. I was working for a company. So what I did was I parlayed my chemistry degree and my mechanical aptitude into a job where I was fixing instrumentation, laboratory equipment. And that was like the perfect job for me because I get to apply the science and the mechanical part. But I traveled the Midwest. So I covered 13 states, but ultimately I went everywhere in the U.S. And after 5 or 6 years of that got really old. I actually filled out an application to Wyotech. I was 27, I think, 26, 27. And I filled out an application to Wyotech, and I was this close to going. Because I thought my mindset was I had to have the education to do what I wanted to do, which I was still out in the garage. I was building derby cars, building engines, doing all that stuff. But in my head, if it wanted to be a career, I had to have the training. Which, looking back now, there's other ways to do it for sure. You know, some of those Wyotech things, I'm not knocking the programs, but some of it is, you know, a lot of money to learn what you're going to learn. And I ultimately didn't do it. And it really just came down to I just didn't think it was the right career choice at that time. I was making a lot of money. And so I knew I was going to have to sacrifice if I wanted to do that and make less money. And I ultimately made the decision not to. Do I regret it? Again, not really. I still get to do the things that I love to do on cars, and it'd be awesome if I was doing this for a living. But it is a grind, you know, and if you're going to do it for a living, I love coming out and doing this for 4 or 5, 6 hours at night. I don't know if I'd love it if I was doing it 50 or 60 hours a week, because if I was going to do it, that's how I would do it. I'd have to be, you know, working 50, 60 hours a week and busting your butt. And then it's a job. It's not a hobby.
Right.
So
my story is very similar. I remember when I was in high school, and this is when I was just really getting into cars, and friends that my dad knew and people that he worked for and people in the neighborhood were introducing me to cars and working on cars. And we were at the electrical shop, and the guy working there, he asked me in front of my dad, he says, "Oh, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "Auto mechanic, you know, love working on cars." And he was like, What? You really want to be an auto mechanic? You know, and he's like, you know, you want to be an old man and crawling under cars and having rust and dirt and grease and everything fall in your face and everything like that? Why would you want to do that? And I was like, I like working on cars. And I remember driving home with my dad, and he was like, yeah, you can do a lot better than that. And, you know, looking back, it was well intentioned.
Right.
It was you want better for your kids. You know, so I do get it. And like you, though, I'm glad I didn't go down that path, because, yeah, this is hard work.
yeah, it is.
And you know, the guy at the electrical shop, he was right. You know, being an old man and doing this, that'd be very taxing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's better kept as a hobby.
Yeah. I can walk away from it, you know, like if I get burned out on something, I can walk away. Surprisingly, I have not gotten burned out in the 8 months I've been doing this, which I'm only getting more excited.
See that? Yeah, I was just gonna say that. You know, the more I work on something like this, the more I want to work on it.
Yeah. Do you find, because you know your dad was blue collar too?
Yeah, that's.
Do you find, and I think, you know, you grew up working trades with your dad, and I did the same thing, construction and concrete. And do you find that, like, you know, having a white collar job, sometimes I feel like, you know, doing these hobbies where I have to work hard is almost like a return, you know, like it's you're almost making a connection to that past, where I feel like, I'm so lazy in my white collar job that I need to go and do something physical and something that's hard work to, like, feed that, like, need for hard work. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. There is that, and is it hard work? Yes. Is it taxing? Yes. Does it make you tired at the end of the day? Yes. But at the same time, to me, it's kind of invigorating to get the blood pumping,
right,
to use your hands,
right,
to have some physical activity. Because my job is, you know, I mean, the most exercise I get is walking around in front of the classroom or up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is better than just sitting, you know, all day. Agreed. But, you know, people exercise. You know, you want to get out, you go run, you do aerobic exercise and everything like that. This is my version of that.
Yeah.
I feel, you know. And plus, kind of like what you were alluding to, you got something, that charger, oh my God, it's a mess. But, or this, you know, I mean, this did not look like this when you started. And now it looks like this. And you did this.
Yeah.
You did this with your own two hands.
Mm-hmm.
I find that very satisfying.
All right, we made pretty good progress here. We've got the first coat on. It's looking really good, and I'm super appreciative to have Jeff's help. He's done for the night. He's got to head back home. It is Wednesday. It is a work night, so I just wanted to tell Jeff thanks for coming out.
My pleasure.
And I'm super excited to do this with friends. This is what this is all about, I think, in my opinion. Working on your projects with your friends. So I'm excited to work on his charger again. I don't know if he's in for more than he bargained for tonight with the mess, but
it was fine.
I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm the envy of everybody watching because I'm on the set of Cody Builds. So,
And I will say, he's a true friend because he brought the beer tonight. Usually the guy whose project it is supplies the beer. He even brought the beer. So, what a guy. So, thanks,
happy to
Jeff.
help. You're very welcome,
thanks.
Cody.
Yeah, I'm super happy with this. This is looking really good. I'm just going to get one last coat on this thing. And then we're going to clean up and call it a night. There we have it, guys. The truck bed is done. Well, for now. But as far as the work, the fab work, most of the welding, all that stuff's done. The last little bit we may have to do on this bed is in the wheel wells. So that's why I have not put the inner fenders in yet. We may end up tubbing this thing. We're just gonna have to wait and see until we have the tire and wheel package. I wanna thank Jeff personally for coming out and helping. I absolutely love having my family and friends out, and Jeff is a great friend. He's been a mentor to me for a long time in my life, and I'm just thankful that he wants to come out and he wants to help me work on this vehicle. That's what this channel is all about. Getting out in the garage, working on your projects with your family and friends. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed a little bit different tone of this episode. You know, Jeff getting to ask me some questions. You guys getting to know me a little bit more personally, what drives me, how I made some decisions on this truck, all those kinds of things. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm trying to give you a little peek behind the curtain. It can be tough to answer those kind of questions when you're by yourself out in the shop. So I appreciate Jeff's perspective and his questions, but that's gonna do it for this episode. We've got the bed done. The cab's coming up. I'm going down to get that this weekend. We're gonna be doing a Will It Run. Stick around, see what it is. I might have said it in one of my past videos, but that's gonna be coming up soon. A lot of fun stuff coming up on the channel. Engine's going out to the machine shop. We're gonna start the work on the cab. Before long, we'll be back on the chassis, wrapping up with little odds and ends, the fuel lines, the fuel system, the brake lines, all that stuff. So there's gonna be a lot of content coming up, guys. I wanna say thank you to each and every one of you that subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, please consider it. It doesn't cost you anything. You just click the little subscribe button. That's it, that's all it is, painless. For all you that are subscribed, thank you. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking the videos. I really, truly appreciate it. It's helped this channel grow immensely, and I'm so appreciative of your support. I really, truly mean that. So thank you all. Remember, if you don't work on your project, it will not work on itself. Get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.